Yeah, I think we touched on at the beginning there, Ricky, and it was good. Like you say, it's his first podcast, so there'll be probably walk out of here and be a lot more that we haven't touched on. That we'll touch on that probably in another podcast. But yeah, leaving school. Uh, I did early college transfer made. Like I said, I didn't do at the beginning. I didn't do very well at school. Didn't do year 11 at school because they know that I wasn't going to get any GCSEs. I want the sharpest knife in drawer, put it that way. But yeah, it was drink were really coming into my life, and about the age of 13, I would say, but maybe looking back at photos, what my mum's dragged up, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But yeah, the age of 13, picking up that first drink, waiting outside VG, I can remember it. But whatever I could get my hands on, really, a bottle of Mad Dog 2020, Lambrini, and I never drunk. Never drunk normally, like everybody else. We're always to oblivion, always to what I know today is blackout. And it was affecting me really back then, but I never knew it. Yeah, sorry, just lost myself a little bit there. Yeah, so like I say, bottle of Mad Dog 2020. You know, uh, going back a little bit, I always wanted to play rugby league, and I did that. I was pretty good at it. Ricky will probably say different.
I might hit my laughing button. Hang on.
But yeah, what it is, yeah, from the age of 6, I were, I wasn't very good at to begin with, but something I worked on, and I fulfilled my dream of signing for Cast Tigers. And I thought my dreams had all come true, to be quite honest. Signing on that dotted line, and then it was when, like I said, my drinking, but what it really did, my gran and granddad were a big part of my life, and it still is today that they're no longer here. I'll be honest, and I got that. It was when 21s were going from winter to summer, and I was playing with 21s at Cass, and basically I got the dreaded phone call. My dad's an old pit man, and my mum phoned me and said, "Will you come up to house? And your dad wants you upstairs." I went upstairs, give me a cuddle, and tell me the dreaded news that my granddad had passed away. No, all it was, my granddad wanted me to do well and do well at rugby league, and I wasn't going to play that day. I wasn't going to play that day, I'll be honest, and but that's what my granddad had wanted me to do, and I did. We played Dudley Hill away, and I had a really good game. Dave Woods, what coach at time for first team, Dean Sonson was my coach, and he said to me, "Dezi, do you want to sub for first team tomorrow?" And a young kid who's going to say no, and that's what my gran and granddad wanted me to do. And next day I sub for first team, bit of a blur, but yeah, and then from then, like I say, I sub for first team, and then I dropped down to 21s, and I was playing really well with 21s, and then my drinking really took off. I'm not blaming it on anybody else, but I don't think I dealt with my gran and granddad's passing really well, and I started drinking before a game, I started drinking before training, and then I got dropped from 21s to 18, subbing for 18s, and then the selfishness, the ego, the pride come out in me. Well, were they to do that when I've subbed for first team, when I've played first team? Do you know what I mean? That selfishness, and then I can remember going down one game, and I got dropped for 18s, and I was studying stand, and any normal person would get a ball of look, said, "No, not Dezi." Basically, I went and got a few pints down me, and went in and tell coach what I thought of him, and he ripped. Took me into office and ripped me 2.5 year contract up. And at the time, I wasn't bothered. I think drink really took off for me there. way before that. And I went and signed for Fryston Crown, Pairdale, and that's when my drinking really took off. I'll be honest. It's a big drinking culture. Is rugby league, and come with that, getting into trouble, getting getting locked up for drunk and disorderly, pub watch, stuff like that, and it affected me, affected my family, and I didn't realise it at the time. And will say this, I've had some really good times in drink, but I've had some really bad times as well. It's this is not just my illness. What I've got, it's a family illness. It affects your family, not just you yourself, and it did. Like I said, my drinking really took off. But I'll sit here. I want an everyday drinker, but it was creeping into where I was drinking, on a Thursday, and once I picked up that drink that I know today, that sent a physical craving to my brain that told me that I want more and more, and I didn't know when I was going to stop. That was the awful thing is, and I was getting into scrapes and stuff like that, and then it come ahead, beautiful missus, who I'm still with today, what I put her through, I can only repay her by and repay my family through being sober, one day at a time, and only can repay myself through that, and the people I hurt around me, and I've got a tattoo on my back, and it's a massive tattoo, my family and stuff like that, and I won't go too.
We'll get that out another time.
Yeah, I won't go too far into it, but what I class is, I've got a tattoo is my jigsaw puzzle, and that is what I'm putting back together, one day at a time. It's building them pieces, but yeah, it come ahead. Like I was supposed to go to my partner's brother's wedding, and I can never get that back. I didn't go to the wedding, and day before wedding, like normal people, go out, have a drink, and have a meal, and go home. No, not Dezi. And I've heard so many stories, what happened the day before, but what I know today is it changed my life. But Joe had enough of me. I won't get any back into me drinking. Filling my pre-workout up. I thought it was funny. I'd come and we're at Fryston today, doing this podcast, and I'd come here, play rugby, and I'd go home. I'd have 8 cans. Joe, I think I've got 8 cans, and I was going in the cellar and filling my pre-workout or what I thought gym, or because it was orange, or filling it with vodka and whatever else I could get my hand on, to be quite honest. And the selfishness, the ego, the pride, and I knew I had a problem before I walked in the rooms. I really did, but couldn't admit it, and it's that admitting that I had a problem. And I got that, and Joe had put me out, and I went on next door neighbour's sofa, and my mum had messaged me, my mum and dad, saying, don't bother coming over here, and it was an awful time. But see, even then, I still blamed it on everybody else, apart from the lad who's sat here today. I blamed it on everything else, apart from, like I say, the lad. And I went out all day that day. Got changed at my mum's, went out all day, and it was pour me, and I will say the names. I can say them on here, and they're not in fellowship, and that's Craig Stones and Elisa Stones. If it wouldn't been for Stones, I'd probably been on streets. The Stones said to me, "You can sleep on below up bed," and a bit of laugh, but he loved it. He loved cuddling up to me. We had some laughs, but we had some tears along the way. And Jo, bless her, she gave me 2 people in the fellowship. Who I cannot thank enough. And they saved my life. Did Stones here, Joe, and these 2 people. I wouldn't be sat here today. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. And what it was, just before they took me to a meeting, the 12-step program that I'm on today, Stonesy said to me, I went to Townville Club, and after that all-day bender on that Friday, he said, "Dezi, do you want a drink?" And I turned around to him and says, "No, get me a pack of Coke. I've had enough of all the shit and all the carnage I've caused everybody. I just want help." And I did. It was that word, that help. And I couldn't say it before. I could not say that I wanted help. And today I can, today, and they took me to the first meeting that were on the Friday. Them two beautiful people took me to my first meeting in Outwood, and I've never looked back since. And that's over 9 years ago. It changed my life, and it has changed my life. And it's been it was carnage at back end. It really was. I thought every day we're gonna, the next drink's gonna be different, and it never was. At back end, it were always the same carnage, and but like I said, when you start getting to a point in your life where you don't want to do that no more. You don't want to be in that situation no more. You don't want to carry on life like that. But you think that there's no way out, and that's what I was at back end of my drinking, and it gripped me. It really did. But yeah, back end of my drinking were really, really tough. But that ego and that selfishness and that pride kept me out there for so long. It really did. It probably killed me in the end. But
Ray, we're back now with sort of sends out off camera. Yeah, so me leaving school, and like I said earlier, I joined the parachute regiment after me late dad Basim. And that was a ridiculous hard thing to get into. I think our intake had I think we started with 67 lads, and that got whittled down to I think there were 13 of us made it, and the numbers were that low they had to add 2 platoons together to pass out with. I had to grow up really fast in there. It was ridiculously hard, but I did. I managed to get through the process, and I passed off. My pass-off parade was probably one of the proudest days of my life. Just to march past my dad, get an eyes right, which is like a salute, and look him straight in the eyes. Well, a memory I'll take to my grave with me. Drinking culture in army was massive. I mean, we were the fittest alcoholics on the planet. I mean, I could do a mile and a half in 8 minutes dead. I could do a 2-miler full kit in 18 minutes. Yeah, just ridiculously fit, but all while getting steaming at every opportunity, steaming drunk. So yeah, where did I go from there? And thinking about it now, what being a paratrooper is, and how tough it was. That came with a lot of good, attributes. You had to demonstrate self-discipline, determination, a will to win, and all them things, all them attributes is a total opposite to what an alcoholic is, and that's, looking back on it, that's why I think it's kept me out of getting help that long. My ego, that sense of indestructiveness, kept me out of there. Just admitting that I had a problem, that's what it was. Really difficult. But as I've got sober now, I've realised that, I've never had control over my drinking. In order to lose something, you must have had it in the first place. I mean, I've spoken to you about that before. Which makes it a bit of a better pill to swallow. So 18-year-old, I was jumping out of that first aeroplane I ever went on. I jumped out of it. I don't think I landed on a plane till I was about fucking 21 or something. Because, like I said earlier, we didn't have fuck all when I was a kid. So, best holiday we got was fucking Brid. We thought pea fields were a day out. So yeah, first aeroplane I went on, I jumped out of it. I mean, at 18, I were jumping out of aeroplanes with enough ammunition to take out fucking Pontefract. But with that came a massive ego, you know, um, which was good, but it also was bad. It's a double-edged weapon, is that ego, innit? And it kept me from getting help. But anyway, obviously, I did all the obvious tours of Afghanistan, Iraq, Northern Ireland, um, and I've always suffered with mental health, even in army. Um, I've had my mental health problems. I used to receive counselling in army when we got back from Afghanistan, which helped. I was known to go on drinking binges in army. I even stood myself down a couple of times and ended up in army jail. Twice I did. Because first time obviously didn't sink in, so I had to do it again. But yeah, drinking would have probably been army as well. I went AWOL. Yeah, and towards end of my career, I did leave with a perfect record. They sent me away to drive a high-ranking officer down in Warminster, which I was away from my unit, um, and I was drinking quite a lot on that post. And I signed off while I was there. And when I think about it now, if I was at my battalion with my mates, if I signed off the army, what usually would have happened is somebody would have said that, let's have a fucking pint, talk about it, and they would have talked you back round to not doing it. But I didn't have that support network around me at the time, and I ended up signing off. But before that, obviously, my dad, bless him, my best friend, he died. He had an aneurysm. He was driving his taxi home. I was in Colchester at the time, and he was in Cass, and he had an aneurysm, which I'm told you can have from being born, and obviously he didn't know he had it. He was driving his taxi up Queen's Park Hill there, and it just exploded in his head. And I got that dreaded phone call, what Dezi touched on earlier. And we were all really, really, really close to my dad. I mean, he was the link pin that kept us all together. And that totally put the family, turned it upside down. And I didn't take that quite well, as you can imagine. But like Desi's saying, alcoholism's an illness. These bad things that happen to us ain't the cause of why I've got a problem with alcohol. It's not the cause at all. It just fuels an already existing fucking furnace. I'm sure you can agree with me on that. So yeah, that was a big kicking bollocks to me and the rest of my family. And I've always felt never really cried properly, and I've always felt guilty about that. I did recently though on one of my drinking episodes. I come in and I just roared my eyes out on my own in that bedroom, basically just saying sorry to him for what I'd become. So yeah, after army, right, I'm back now. I lost my train of thought a little bit there. Like I say, it's our first ever podcast. So I'm jumping forward and jumping back. But anyway, yeah. So, just like Desi, I was coming home from army on leave. I was getting into loads of trouble, scrapping all the time. And it always used to be, when I was telling someone next day what happened, it was always that other kid's fault that I'd belted, but it wasn't. It was me being an absolute cunt pissed. I've always been a cunt pissed. it's like Jekyll and Hyde. I'm an horrible, arrogant, and I can be violent as well when I'm drunk. Not so much towards back end, but definitely in middle years there were a nasty piece of work. I mean, I've been on pub watching casts more than I've not been on it, which I'm not proud of. Just a complete nightmare. So yeah, when I got out of army, the drinking continued. But what were happening inside my head? I was like, the army gave me purpose, and it always kept me grounded. And I had a big support network in there. Should I need it? Coming into Civvy Street, you don't get that. It was like leaving school again, sort of thing. All I ever knew was army. I can remember going for interviews and after leaving army for a job, and they were like, "Are you any good with hand tools and all that?" I'm like, "I ain't got a fucking clue, mate. I couldn't even hang a picture in the house if I wanted to. But I'm a cracking shot with a rifle. But that's no good to your future employer, is it?"
No.
So I did struggle, and it was like starting from fresh again. Started back at the bottom, but drinking was always there. But when army wasn't there, it was like, how can I explain it? I was like a fucking racehorse locked in stables that, you know, um, just there's something missing. I'm quite an extremist. I'm quite, do everything to extreme. It's probably why I'm sat here today. And I was getting that buzz from being a paratrooper. And when I didn't have it anymore, I was getting it from everywhere else, like drinking, gambling, cocaine. I've had a problem with everything, me, trying to fill that gap. What I'm speaking about. Yeah. I've got an autistic son. He's 11 now. Sorry. And he's probably behind the reason why I've started to change my mindset. He's severely autistic. I'm back again. I started rambling a little bit and lost my way. So yeah, our buddy, he was born total normal birth. I'd had 2 girls prior in a previous relationship, and I was dying for a boy. So when I found out we were having a boy, I was buzzing, man. Oh, totally buzzing. I can always remember speaking to my mate in the pub. You watch, I'm going to make a world champion out of this lad, and he's going to be best rugby player, and planning it all, fishing trips, and as he was getting older, like 2, 3, we realised that he wasn't quite neurotypical, different. He's walking on his tiptoes, flapping his hands, and stuff like that. And at time, because I was wrapped up in this chaos around alcohol and all things that I've mentioned, I was just not dealing with it. I was putting it away. And as he's getting older and he's not speaking, I was just putting it away, and it was ripping me to bits, to be honest. But again, I was just hiding behind the escapisms, thinking, oh, he's going to talk soon and shit, and not dealing with it, which in turn want helping him. and he had a lot of anger, a lot of resentment surrounding that situation. You know, why me? Why our buddy? What's he done? You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I was in a horrible place with it. Uh, I've got a lot of guilt about that as well. You know, I- I've always been a good dad to my kids, but there's a difference between having your kids and having them, isn't there? You know what I mean? Um, but it ain't like that now. That anger has turned to love, I think. And that resentment, that's slowly turning to gratitude. And I'm embracing the situation. Um, and he's teaching me things, man. Just about everyday things that I never knew were possible from a kid that can't talk. Um, yeah, it's been hard, but really hard, especially in early days. I mean, Lauren, bless her, um, he used to keep the full house up till 4 or 5 in the morning. She used to have to sleep on the bedroom floor next to him. Um, I'll cover it a lot more in future things, but um, raising a severely autistic kid, non-verbal, is just comes with a lot of added stress and pressures, and if you're not in the right mindset, man, it rip families apart. I mean, I've looked into it. A lot of relationships don't last at all when they're going through all that what I'm on about with autistic children because of the extra stress and pressures it puts on you. Yeah, so my drinking um, got a lot worse towards the end. Lauren was onto me about it. You know, I used to manipulate her to get more beer. She would come to agreement that I could have like 4 cans on a night. I manipulated it so she'd agree to let me have 4 beers on a night. But what she didn't know is I'd had fucking 4 on way home in car. um, I'd pre-dropped 4 in garage. So really I had 8, but she only knew about 4. Um, I was going out, just letting dog out love and swapping the empty can in my hand for a full one from garage. So she'd be like, "You know, you're taking your time with them cans tonight, like you know what I mean." But she didn't know I'd had about fucking 12. I can remember we've got Queen's Park Woods behind our house, and I'd smashed me 4 cans in and probably the 4 in garage, and I'd be like, right, I'm off to walk dog before I go to bed. And I'd walk dog up to BG and I'd grab another 4. And I can remember fucking crying in woods, you know. Yeah, house. Crying in woods behind house, like fucking hell, how have I got here? You know, how the fuck have I got here? But yeah. Um I'd got to this point a few times and I'd written Dezi a message a couple of times and I'd deleted it because I didn't have the bollocks basically. I wasn't ready to fucking take that leap. But yeah, towards and I can remember praying. I never prayed at all ever in my life. I've always believed in God, but the way they maybe teached it at school, but I always believed in something. I never quite practiced it or preached it, but I prayed for the first time in my life just before I got help, and it wanted to stop me drinking. I think I showed you what I wrote it down anyway, and what I prayed about, and I showed Dezi. Anyway, I prayed to give me the tools to don't stop me drinking. Give me the tools to stop doing all the things that are harming me, and give me the strength to find help. And a couple of days later, I found myself messaging Dezi, and I took a deep breath and I pressed send, and he got it. And I ended up in the meetings that he's just been speaking about on a 12-step program. I'm on step 4 at the minute. And in these rooms, man, because I thought nobody will understand me. Nobody will understand my thought processes, my insanity, my fucking, nobody will quite get me. But when I got in these rooms and I sat down, it were like what were coming out of their mouths were designed just for my fucking ears, and I couldn't believe it. And straight after my first meeting, I was like buzzing. I was like, Dezi will recall, he took me to my first one, an hour in a mess, man. I was shaking. And somebody said to me in that meeting, didn't they, Dez? They said, I can see it in your eyes, how much pain you're in. And you know that. And people could. My oldest brother, Marky, used to say to me, I can see how sad you are in your eyes. But yeah, that first meeting, I left there, and I was in a total different mindset. I did, however, do what a lot of people do. And I thought, after a couple of meetings, I thought, yeah, I've finally got control now. I can just have a couple and leave it there. But the truth is, and I relapsed. I started having odd couple just at weekend. But then that sneaks back in, and it's a matter of time before the fucking rails have fallen off again, and you're crying in back bedroom with curtains shut. And I had to hit rock bottom again. I can remember somebody saying to me in one of the meetings, I'd rather be in here pretending I'm an alcoholic than out there pretending I'm not. And that really resonated, and it rung true in my lugs. And I remember thinking about that statement. I thought, fuck it, I'm going back. And I went back. And I'm now nearly 4 months sober.
Well done, Rikki.
And in that 4 months, fucking hell, wow. We sat here doing fucking podcasts, you know what I mean? And I'm totally dealing with Buddy in a different light now. Like I'm excited to see him. But I have a full day with him every Saturday, and when I was hungover or not in that mindset, that were a fucking chore because of his eye complex needs. It was like a chore, and I was missing out on something beautiful, which is him, and now I'm not. I look forward to having him. I love it. I love getting him in bath. I love washing his hair. And I've just had a granddaughter as well, which is, I can't believe my granddad, but I'm loving that as well. It's like I've been fucking reborn, man. Yeah. So I've covered the middle there, and the shift. I think we'll leave that bit there, Des, and we'll go straight on to a shared message from us both. I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, please like and subscribe. And tomorrow we're going to release the last and final
part where we have a bit of a message to people who are struggling and a curveball question for each other.